Welcome, Star Citizens, back to another episode of the Citizen Feed. We're a podcast bringing you all the latest information that we find on Star Citizens so we can disseminate it to you guys. We appreciate the activity level that we've been getting lately, the likes, the subscriptions. Keep doing that. Make sure that you help us get everything out that we want to get to you guys. All right, so we're going to begin the show by introducing our hosts. I'm Delta X85 from the big SC in the United States. We got Mozsta69 from Australia, and we got Ace 36 from Stanton itself. Ace, why don't you take us into the week in review?
All right, guys. This week in review, I would like to talk about what I have done, and we'll give it over to you. I'll just start off with the first session I had this week was very PvP oriented, and we actually had a lot of fun until people got bitter, and then we just quit because it got annoying at some point, and I didn't want it to ruin my gaming experience. So yeah, the other thing I did this week was trying to play Xenothreat. Focus on the trying to, because it didn't work on any of the servers I have been on, and I tried at least 10. And phase 3 was always bugging out. Xenothreat was very lazy and didn't even show up to the fight. So yeah, still waiting to complete it this week. There's some lazy terrorists, man, I tell you.
I guess it would probably be Idra. Is that how we would do it?
What have you guys been doing? Yeah, you go first.
I'll go first. I'll butt in there, Delta. I'm excited. That's why I'm butting in, because Xenothreat actually worked for me after 2 attempts. So there you go. It actually worked. A lot of desync and stuff, obviously. All the regular kind of problems that we have with Star Citizen was there, but still the potential of Star Citizen kind of shined through all the bugs. I did the cargo side of things, I did the fighting side of things, and in the fighting side of things, it kind of for a split second felt I was in a large space battle. There was just gunfire everywhere, there was ships flying everywhere, there was explosions everywhere, mainly just the poor AI getting massacred. But it was fun, and then we did the cargo stuff as well on the second attempt, and the mission worked. So yeah, happy that it worked once out of I think 3 times that I tried. And like you, Ace, and probably Delta, was like sort of server hopping and stuff to try and get the right one. But even more exciting to me was I did my first successful prison break, guys. So
oh man.
I'm still...
Congratulations.
Yeah, my character's wearing his prison clothes. He's still wearing them. So I'm running around the verse in prison clothes, and I'm really proud.
That's a thing? Like you get to keep them?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I didn't
You can even put armor on top of the prison undersuit.
Oh, that's funny.
Big shout out to my friend Solzy. He's the one that came and collected me from the prison. So yeah, that sums up my week, guys.
As far as my week, I haven't had a whole lot of time in the verse and I know you guys are gonna yell at me, but it's that ADMIN. I can't escape it, man. The more people that we recruit, the more things that I have to do. I'm always tweaking the Discord, always in meetings, and trying to make sure that we are developing the org to be successful when this game is actually playable, and especially looking in the future with 3.15 and 16. Will we go to a 17 or will we go to 4.0? I don't know, but each successive patch is getting to where the game has more and more potential. So trying to get these guys organized, get us unified, playing as a group. That's one of the things that I know is that we have as a hurdle in this game, keeping players interested. And we've had discussions about this before, but now I'm really putting the boots down and having admin meetings and officer meetings, trying to get everybody involved in recruiting and making sure that we build up the organization itself, because we do have a community in our Discord as well that's separated from the org, but trying to put more emphasis on that tight knit group, so when as things evolve we are able to be successful. For my gameplay, I have probably attempted Xenothreat at least 3 times, probably a total of 630Ks. One time I logged in, took me 30 minutes to get my ship. Everest Harbor was still having an issue where on pad 1, your Sentinel or your Vanguard, which seems to be one of the ships that are affected by this, comes with a gangster lane and you can't reach the ramp. Yes, disturbing. After that, I would get in. I would be flying to Mick. Was it Mick L1? Hitting the microtech for Xenothreat. Bam, 30K, 30K. I was like, oh my god, I'm never gonna get over there. So when I did finally get into it, got through first phase into the cargo hauling. Did that. At first, I was a little irritated by it, but you know, when you see the activity level, everyone's working together. It's like, okay. But I did notice that everyone's kind of lazy when it comes to the cargo hauling, because no one wants to get out of their ship and go. Because you're sitting there, and I guess everybody's doing the same thing, trying to watch that ticker go up, and you're like, this shit ain't moving, dude. Somebody's got to do it. So usually our team, we work well together. That's one of the things that I can say. So we land, we'll start getting the various pieces of cargo that's got to be taken over back to the Jericho. Ran that. Have yet to complete one. Can't blame it all on CIG, because usually I have very limited time. So by the time we get in there, get running, and things start going smoothly, I usually have to log out. But outside of that, that's pretty much it. I did do some experiments with loadouts on the Sentinel Vanguard, because I know that, to be honest with you, as much as I love that ship, I still want to give it a shot, because right now the Harbinger seems the better lean. But the Sentinel is taking some tweaking, so I've changed around some guns. I think I got a pretty decent loadout on it now. But you definitely want to have a turret gunner in that absolute fact. When you got that size 5, no matter what you run, those little ships, if you can target on them and hit them, it doesn't take much to explode them. Although the Hurricane, and I think we were actually decent, because I hit that thing with 2 size 4 missiles and 3 size 3s, and I was lighting it up and it just wouldn't explode. So I can't really blame that on the loadout. Pretty sure it was decent, because after we exploded, we grabbed another a Hurricane to put Hurricane against Hurricane, and we were just unleashing on that thing, and it would never explode. So I'm gonna chalk that one up, the desync, the almighty desync. There's 2 things in here that we always hear about, and one we want, and the other one we never want to see: desync and server meshing.
Yep.
That's pretty much it for me this week, guys.
All right. It sounds fun, though. I mean, at least you got to try Xenothreat and see the cooperation between people. I liked that in the last release of Xenothreat. That cooperation between players who had never met was pretty good. I'm not sure if it's
talking about cooperation, and I'm not name dropping here for the sake of name dropping. I don't know these people except what I see on YouTube, so I'm not doing that, right? But I was on the server with a morphologist who was. We were doing the cargo stuff, and we were in the Starfarer passing cargo in and out. And then this 600i started shooting at us, like lining itself up and shooting into the Starfarer. And he got one of my friends, killed one of my friends, right? And I was hiding behind some stuff, shooting with a machine gun back at him to no avail. And I typed in chat, I was like, who's shooting at us and why? And someone said Linus. Linus, I think it's Linus Tech Tips, but I'm not sure, man.
That's who it is. He's got a video on Star Citizen. He and his group jumped in.
Like recently? Like today or yesterday or something?
No, this video they released was probably back a couple months ago, maybe about 3 months ago.
Yeah, I'm aware
They
of
jumped
that.
in, was dicking around, but I guess he's hopping in and out then.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's true or not, but anyway, so he wasn't cooperating. He was shooting us, but anyway, it was funny.
Well, I mean, I can't judge him for that because that actually made me think about a situation I did have in one of my experiences with the Xeno threat. I guess it desynced. So when I was killing the Xeno threat, for some reason they changed into character names, but they were still red. Then I started blowing them out of the sky and wound up with a crime stat. So I wound up with like a crime stat 3 for murder. So I just started killing everybody at that point. So,
well, so you got to experience both fights.
Yeah, becoming a criminal is kind of a freeing feeling, isn't it? You're like, okay, I can shoot everyone now.
Oh yeah, because I knew I had to go to work too. So I was like, I don't even have to fuck with prison. I'll just log back in. My sentence will be over. So I just started slaughtering people, and I know I pissed a lot of people off because those cargo missions. I mean, that cargo mission is not really intense as much as it is just tedious. So I could imagine the cutty I took out probably had a decent amount. I'd like to think the emotional anguish that I put those guys through, but I was pretty shitting about that desync because I noticed that when they were, even though the targets were still red, then I started shooting them, wound up with a crime stat, and I don't know exactly what the parameters and issues were with all of that, but shortly after I did all of that, I seen that I got resynced, so then I had a crime stat, so I wasn't able to do the mission. I was like, fuck it.
Awesome. All right. Well, at least we all had some Xeno threat experience, for better or for worse.
I'm gonna give it another try.
Yeah, I'm nearly at the 3rd level, which is where you get the chest piece for the armor, armor set. Yeah. All right. Should we move on to CIG media releases for the week, guys?
Absolutely.
Drum roll, please. All right, so as usual, there was 2 videos. There was a Star Citizen live game dev called Gangs of Pyro Concepts, and the second video was Inside Star Citizen, Editorial, Territorial, Summer 2021. That's the second time they've rhymed the name, isn't it, of the video? What was the other one?
Yeah.
Something admission permission or something was last week. Anyway.
Yeah, but I think that's what happens when Jared's in charge of making the titles.
They're rhyming. Let's start off with the first, I think, a little bit more simple video. Had one of my favorite artists, Jeremiah Lee, in the Gangs of Pyro concept. And I think overall with the videos this week, guys, and probably in the next coming weeks, I mean, Disco Lando said it himself that they're kind of holding back as much, juicy information as they can so they can unleash on us in CitizenCon. So expect a lot more like origin stories about developers and art things maybe and whatnot. So anyway, Jeremiah Lee and Disco Lando were doing concepts of a member of a gang in Pyro, and I keep forgetting there's more than Xenothreat in Pyro. I keep just thinking Xenothreats in Pyro. So for me, it was refreshing. There was a gang member called the Fire Rats, which I think were survivors on Pyro 3. And because the sun is dying in Pyro, there's all these solar flares and, what is it? The cosmic activities happening from a dying sun, which ends up burning and scarring you, and it's just a horrible kind of environment to live in. And these guys, the fire rats, survived and sort of flourished on Pyro 3, and they got into the business of stealing ships, and they I think their main goal is to take over Ruin Station from Xenothreat. So interesting. And Jeremiah Lee had Todd Pappy and kind of started, he went through this process of the artwork that he does, and ended up with a member of the Fire Rats. For those at home on the audio, in the podcast, it's kind of a Mad Max looking type character, I suppose, with with armor, but you live in a hot kind of environment, so you got like some flesh, and you got some exposed flesh, you got some armor, but you got a face mask on, and you had like some glasses on and things like that. But I don't have much more to add, guys, except I enjoy those two. I think it's lighthearted. I said it before in episode 1 or whatever. I love seeing the art process. But yeah, and again, it's just good to see other cultures in Pyro. It's not just Xenothreat, which I thought it was for some reason. But enjoyed it.
Another info I got out of it was that the fire rats are sun-worshipping cultists too. So those burns will maybe be like ritualistic, or have like scarification style burns going on with patterns and stuff. It's not just random burns. They will do it kind of voluntarily or something like that. So that was a cool idea, and instead of a regular weapon, the dude had like a modified mining laser, which also seemed kind of cool.
Oh, that would be so cool! Yeah,
that was one of the recommendations from the crowd. That's also another cool thing, the interaction with the crowd, because the faction itself, the Fire Rats, was also created during one of those live streams.
Yeah,
it's a couple of months back, but or weeks. I'm not sure myself, but
so Jeremiah had like pictures of burnt, like people like on his mood board, I think it's called, where he starts off with the concepts. He had pictures of like people burnt flesh and scars, like real pictures, to use as a point of reference. So I mean, imagine the Fire Rats. Like I could imagine like, when you live in the darks, probably in like, I don't know, underground as much as you can to sort of hide away from the heat. And then like when you're 18, there's like some sort of a ritual where you have to go out at noon and like survive the solar flares, like the Spartans.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows, man? Yeah. I mean, it's a gang and stuff, and they should have some sort of ritual of passing. Yeah, this is a cool idea.
Yeah, these videos to me are always anticlimactic, because you wait a whole entire week and then you get this, which is interesting. Like if they were really going to say take this one character, for sure, like they may. We don't know for exactly if they're going to do this, but take this one character and this is going to be one of the members of Fire Rats. This is like, what did they say, is a mid-level member. It would probably appeal to me a little more, but I mean, overall, it's still interesting to be able to sit back and watch them go through the process of creating at least the concepts and the general direction that they're going to go with the idea. The Fire Rats, obviously, they were ship hijackers.
Mm-hmm.
Then, the worship of the dying star, and like A said, it is spiritual to them, so they have a spiritual level with that. So we might even see more like a cult, a cultish gang, if you will, because they had elements of, I mean, a lot of different things. They were trying to avoid not going to iconic route. But to be honest with you, human culture and fiction is to a point to where iconography, there's no novelty in it anymore. You have to necessarily adopt. Even if we locked you in a white room, you would inevitably pull from your mind. You're going to pull from those icons. That's it's coming. It's necessary, because it's going to wind up being the fact that you're going to pull, like, for instance, Mad Max, Vikings, Cyberpunk, Blade Runner. All of these ideas were just mixed together, and there's subtle shades and differences and nuances that really can't be avoided, especially if you're going that route. I mean, just by nature in general.
Yeah, and in the nature of the objects, you have to create themselves. I mean, armor can only have so many variations. It always has to follow certain basic concepts for the character to be able to wear it and move in it. And, I mean, there's limits to what you can do. And
even with that,
everything will kind of look related. I mean, there's no
if
way
you're
around
poor, like, your things are going to look tattered and torn. So tattered and torn in a system like Pyro that's dying is the fucking ghetto. Everything in the ghetto is tattered, torn, broken down, dilapidated, disheveled. And then when you add technology into it, is in a post-apocalyptic fashion, yes, we are going to be leaning on iconic things, and those things were iconic because they initially were set in motion at the particular time the fiction started developing, and then along the way, that's all you're going to be able to wind up, especially with like a dusty atmosphere with no life to it. But I mean, overall, it's really interesting. It always intrigues me, but yet, like I said, it's anticlimactic. It's like I'm waiting for it, get in there, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's all right. He did kind of look like Skrillex. So I was waiting for the DJ table to get put down there, at least have some music.
Yeah.
Some Viking EDM.
Was it the case that Jared didn't know about Vikings? Like, they were looking at
absolutely.
Loki, and they were like, "Who's this guy?" And I was like, "No way! These guys haven't seen Vikings? Oh my god!"
Well, I mean, maybe he's a space nerd.
Dude. Yeah, but that's one you can still watch as a space nerd.
Apparently not him. Yeah, I mean, maybe he doesn't want to watch Vikings. Maybe it's too violent for him.
Or maybe he just doesn't know. But yeah, anyway, but I mean, there's so many shows I haven't seen. I'm being a bit of a harsh judge. I was like, oh my god, someone hasn't seen Vikings? Too funny. All right, so not much more to say about that. Let's move on to the other video of the week, which was Inside Star Citizen. And for me, again, and I'm sure for you guys potentially, the first half was an origin sort of story about Justin Chambers, who's the guy that edits all the media releases and videos that we see. Not much more to add from my point of view in that first half. If people like to, if you want to hear an inspirational story, or you like editing yourself, then maybe you can get something out of that. But it is interesting to see who does all this stuff after all these years as well. I mean, I didn't know. I watch these videos twice a week for the last 4 years, and now I know it's kind of the face behind it all, which is it's something. It's good. But the sprint report had some nuggets, some good nuggets of information. So I'll just start off with there was one more hospital, the hospital in Lawville that we all kind of walk past all the time. The giant Maria Hospital in Lawville got added onto the list of hospitals that's going to be activated, which is really good. They then showed off some of the hacking stuff that they're working on, specifically the hacking terminals or the hacking ports. And they talked about the sizes of them all. Some other things. But instead of me just listing them all off, Delta, what what did you like about Inside Star Citizen?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm kind of gonna go back a little bit on what I just said and give it some positive vibe. All right, so there are those individuals, some haters out there that say Star Citizen is a scam and it's never going anywhere. I mean, the reality of it is that they have over 700 employees and they're all working towards this common goal of creating this epic simulation, this epic game that has never been achieved, nor pretty sure thought about, but obviously never achieved. And there are people behind the scenes doing these jobs that lead the game in the direction that it's going. And it's interesting and I think necessary to be able to see those people, because we're able to see like Justin Chambers, who is doing the editing, and then obviously we see Jeremiah a lot, and we know that he's an artist, working on these concepts and on the back end, and then we'll see developers, development teams. It's a good thing, because what other game developer do we get that much information, and just not that much information, but we have a dedicated schedule to receive these videos and dives into what they're doing, what is coming. So outside of that, I mean, I can definitely say, Star Citizen is not a scam. Do we have bugs? Yes. Do I get on a soapbox and bitch about a lot of things? I do. I think being the devil's advocate is necessary, but never forget the fact that I do love the game. We were talking about that last night when we were playing. When the game is running good, you can just sit back in awe. And when we sit back in awe and you are following these videos weekly, I think you have a more holistic appreciation for it, because you, in the back of your mind, you subconsciously have the ability to know the people that are behind the process. I've never even thought about who's doing what on the back end ever as a gamer until I got into this game and we started doing this podcast and I started following these videos every single week. Even though I watched them before, I never analyzed them. So I do appreciate that, CIG. That is 2 thumbs up there. Now, you touched on the hospitals. As far as what caught my eye the most was the geology and height map of Nix, because that's another system. I'm ready to get out of Stanton. And the reason why I'm ready to get out of Stanton is, in theory, my logic is leading me to think that if these guys are going to open up new systems, I don't know, maybe it's not logic and it's more of faith and hope. Yeah, I guess I need to erase logic and move with faith and hope. Faith and hope that we are actually going to get some new servers, because the servers cannot handle the load. I'm hoping that they're taking down notes and okay, guys, when we release this system, let's have a better server. Could we? I don't know. But it is good to always see, new systems being developed, and they're working on multiple systems. So right now, the crapshoot is, what are we getting next? I don't want Pyro next, because we need server meshing for that to work properly. There's no way we're going to be only able to have 50 players in each server and be able to work efficiently and organize and run the full potential of Pyro, especially with the way the economics are going to be in Pyro. So let's wait on Pyro. Give us another one, and I have faith and hope the CIG is going to give us better servers on those, and then I'll go over there and leave Stanton so it can operate halfway decent.
I think the takeaway from that was Delta's not going to leave Stanton until server meshing's in place, because Pyro will be too crazy without it.
Oh man, it's not. It's just the potential, man. Like the potential of what it can be. It would definitely be disappointing for me to go over there and have this epic vision of what I want to do. And I mean, you got to think you're going to need to team up and work together as an org for all the reasons why we talked about last week. Server meshing is going to be necessary, but I digress. Overall,
yeah, I got you. I was just joking. What about you, Ace? What tickled your fancy, my friend?
Vulture.
Oh,
They
yes.
showed the progress on the Vulture, which is highly interesting. And salvage is coming soon. So yeah, it's got my heart beating a little bit faster.
Who's got a Vulture again? Out of you guys?
I don't.
No,
I don't yet,
okay,
but I might get one.
Yeah.
I said I was definitely getting one.
Yep.
And another thing was they kept working on the atmospheric effects on Crusader, so ship effects and character effects. I don't know if you saw it because it was like very short and not that well visible, but
no, I want to talk. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that a lot. That's my open mic thing.
Okay, then I'll just leave it at that, and we'll touch on that once we get to open mic.
Cool. I'll just round out some more notes, and then we can move on to the next segment. So, the hacking was touched on with the hacking terminals and stuff. Obviously, they had a larger size hacking terminal, then they decided to go with a smaller size as well, so they can put it in different places. The crypto keys, they were looking at different variants of crypto keys for different uses as well, which is awesome. Again, it's that hacking mechanic kind of being fleshed out, which is really good. And that's what I love about this sprint report. It's just these little nuggets of information that keep me going. The plants on Nix as well, more plants, and I think that's all I've got. So yeah, really, really good string of information, and I think that sums up our CIG media releases, guys, for this week. So it's time for some ship talk.
Ship talk. Welcome to Ship Talk, where every week we select the ship and we just review it. We review the history, the components, the technical overview, the variants. Because we all are interested in ships. Why? Because this is a space game. Ships are necessary. So it's absolutely something that we need to discuss every single week. And we're going to go through one ship a week. And I got a feeling that we're never going to reach the end, that they continue to develop the game. So this week, we actually are going to cover the Aegis Hammerhead. We all have seen them. We have fought them if you're a combat player. Now, we do know that in 313, they were rather easy to destroy. This time, actually, they're not that much more difficult, in my opinion. But what we're going to do is we're going to discuss it. So the Aegis Hammerhead was actually developed in 2773. That was the release date for it. Used in the UEE Navy pretty extensively during the Messer eras, where it saw most of its activity level in the UEE, probably because the Messer era was so fascist and imperialistic, which is why the UEE is slowly trying to separate itself from that negative connotation, that whole entire era. But I have to say the Hammerhead probably does represent that era more than anything else, because I mean it's a badass ship. A fully crewed Hammerhead is definitely something that you can not ignore.
Oh no,
definitely not. Do either of you have one?
Yep.
Nope.
I've got one.
Moz has one.
Yeah.
So what was the?
I've got a best in. I got a best in show. The first best in show, the white and purple one.
Of course.
Or pink. White and pink, rather.
White, purple, pink.
Yeah.
But actually, it looks pretty cool in purple.
Yeah.
I really like it in purple.
Purple and black are the Skeleton Crew colors. So we've got half of it there. We don't have the other half. But anyway. Man, I think... So one thing about when I did research on this, like you just said, Delta, is that it was released in, 2773, which is roughly about 180 years ago in the verse. And then as a guy that plays Mech Warrior and Battletech, I'm into that kind of genre as well. And in that world, they're like, you'll get a mech that's like been in a family for like hundreds of years, right? You got this piece of technology that's like hundreds of years old. And when I read this, I was like, oh man, that's kind of can be the same thing in the verse, where you might have, I don't know, a mission or something which involves like a ship, like a Hammerhead or something else, but it's like 300 years old or something, and it's a really special ship for whatever reason. So I find the age quite intriguing to, have 100-year-old ship or 200-year-old ship's pretty cool, I think. But back to the Hammerhead. I mean, I love it, man. I mean, the things I love about it is the poster that you see of the Jaws poster with the Hammerhead coming up. Have you guys seen that around the verse?
Yeah.
I'd seen that.
Yeah, it's the Jaws poster, and it's got a big hammerhead coming out of the ocean or something. So that's pretty cool. And I like the simplicity of it, man. Like the hallways are like a figure eight. The passageways, it's like a figure eight.
Yeah. And
intuitively, where all the turrets are, and it's easy to learn. It's not silly. You know where to go. The bridge, not being able to look up kind of bothers me a little bit. I don't know why I'm stuck on this thing that if I'm in a spaceship, I want to look up, down, left, and right for some reason. But anyway, the only thing that kind of annoys me is that hole in the middle. What the hell is that hole in the middle for? No one knows.
Yeah.
It's a waste of space. Yeah. Like, who puts a hole in the middle of a spaceship, man? You could have put a gymnasium, a pool room, you could have put,
even if it was just inaccessible tech or whatever, it would have been cooler, because for me, that's just the structural integrity fails, like right there.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. But
it would be nice if they could put a small support ship, like, say, the Merlin or something a little bit larger in the center. You could just drop it out. And I think they would be able to easily program that in.
No, I agree.
Yeah, maybe we'll get something. Who knows? Or maybe like a spot to drop 2 bikes or something.
Yeah, that'd be so cool. So this ship's like it's called a heavy gunship. Now, other gunships include like the Redeemer and the Misk, the Freelancer Misk, right? They're not heavy gunships. They're just normal gunships. This is obviously a much bulkier version of them, and it's, correct me if I'm wrong, it's designed to kill fighters. So it's designed to escort bigger ships and just blow the hell out of small, medium fighters that are attacking. And I think with the turret improvements, apart from getting locked in the turret chamber, which is an annoying bug, CIG, please fix that. They're getting they're very effective, I think, with the fully crewed Hammerhead. As I've said in previous streams many a times, I've said, oh, we got on a Hammerhead and we never got killed. We only got killed once because someone torpedoed us, I think, from long range. But when people
retaliated,
I think so, yeah. It was a tally. And it was on the PTU where everyone's got access to a tally. So as soon as you get in a Hammerhead in the PTU, people just run and spawn a tally because they've got access to every ship. You know what I mean? So it's inevitable on the PTU that you just get popped. But on the PU, man, there's so many times we've survived an hour and a half, 2 hours of constant fighting in a Hammerhead, which says a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's got 6 turrets. Each turret's got 4 size 4 guns. It's got 32 size 3 missiles that the pilot can shoot, which is great. So your turretman can do stuff, and your pilot can actually launch missiles as well. They're all kind of like size 3 components, a mixture of large and medium components on the ship. But really, for me, the Hammerhead is this: the Hammerhead and the Mole are 2 of the ships that I have the fondest multi-crew memories of constantly, more so than any other ships. The Mole for the mining side of things, you go have a quiet time with your friends and do some mining. But the Hammerhead for that action-packed, let's go and blockade Porto, let's go smack up Grimhex, whatever, and you have so much fun. I think those 2 ships for me, I have the most fond memories in multi-crew. So yeah, love the Hammerhead.
Imagine a fleet with these flanking or on the fleet's flanks, because if you're flying a fleet, you got these on your flanks, all your support fighters within, say, that envelope. Then you got your large ships in there as well with your carriers. That would be a badass fleet, dude, because one, you got 6 turrets on each one. So let's say you had 6 hammerheads on the flank of this fleet. You have 18 turrets to get through that line. And then the small fighters can come out of the front end, run your capital size carriers in the center, and then you could make gonna have to use that word when server meshing comes in, because a lot of those capital shifts, hell, you gotta have 12 people just to turn it on and make it function appropriately.
Yeah.
But could imagine the potential there in the future with some of these would definitely be situations where you're gonna want to flank your fleets with it. Now, one of the things that I have experienced is that, even, let's talk about the game and the functionality. Most of the time when I get in these ships in game, specifically the Hammerhead, we always have issues. I know I've been in the Hammerhead 5 times. 3 of the times, either people get stuck in the turrets, can't get out of the doors. Only one time we crashed the server, and I do think we crashed it because we had 2 fully crewed hammerheads, and it just so happened as soon as we launched and we're in flight, boom, it crashed. Coincidental? Maybe. But we did have one time where we had 1 fully crewed hammerhead, and as you said, it is a very enjoyable experience. Is it a situation where you're getting in this and we're about to make a shit ton of money? No, man. You get in the hammerhead to go have fun, especially if it's fully crewed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can 100% agree. And yeah, being a turret gunner on the hammerhead is a serious commitment. But if your mates help you, you can get out again. So
yeah. One of those times serious I was commitment. With Ace.
Just for my own imagination, it's 115 meters long. So I think the Starfarer was 100 meters long. I like to look at the length. I think it gives me
that's your thing, man.
Makes me imagine it. Not that I need to imagine it, because we bloody go into one all the time. But yeah. But yeah, I think that's all. Yeah, I'm a thumbs up to the Hammerhead. Long live the Hammerhead.
Yeah, I can totally agree to that, man. It's a good ship.
And by now, we all know it. You should have heard of it by now. And if you haven't ever heard of it, you must just be starting the game, because everyone knows the ship. I think this is probably the most recognized ship out of them all. So for me, the Hammerhead actually looks least like the Aegis aesthetic than any of their other ships. For me, it looks like more reminiscent of Drake than anything else. It's probably their most rustic looking ship out of the Aegis fleet.
Okay, that's interesting.
Well, it's got a very military and functional interior. Let's go with that. Definitely can agree to that. It's way more efficient in design than many other ships that are not so efficient. Let's just put it like that. So
its simplicity is what I thoroughly enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Simplicity would definitely be a word. Industrial comes to mind as well, but definitely doesn't have that sleek, elegant, ritzy Aegis feel and look to it. And maybe they ran with that because it is a military vessel.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Also, it's supposed to be kind of armored. Later on, at least.
Yes. So should be tougher to kill, right?
Yeah, it's got to have some reminiscence of that, and have some slightly less sleek design than a fighter.
Physicalized armor.
Yep.
Yeah. Basically.
Waiting on it like we're waiting on server meshing and the disappearance of 30Ks in desync.
Everyone gets $1 every time we say server meshing.
It's gonna be rich soon.
Yeah. Just pay me in Bitcoin. All right, guys. So that sums up our overview of the Hammerhead.
Yep.
SHIPtalk's over, and we're gonna slide on into scripted lore. Ace, you the man of the hour.
Okay, so this week we're gonna revisit the UEE a little bit and analyze the structure of the UEE itself, how it's made up, what parts of the government exist, and so on and so forth. So let's start at the very top. I'd say it's power structure is basically built up like a pyramid. You got the imperator up top, and then you have the UEE splitting off into 3 sections. You got the High Secretary, you got the High Command, and you got the High Advocate. The High Secretary comprises like the Congress, and there's the citizens and civilians of the verse fall into that category. The High Command is put together out of the Marines, the Navy, and the Army. And the High Advocate is just the advocacy, which is basically like international special force police by agency, if you want. And they have like the most legal authority in any system.
Yeah.
So... yeah. An interesting thing to touch on would be the civilian and citizen status.
Yeah, what is that? I didn't realize there's a difference. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know? Okay, because there's a defined difference between a civilian and a citizen. Citizenship is earned through distinguished service in the military, or by performing any other services that benefit the UEE in advancing and expanding and like civil service stuff.
And you can actually apply as well.
Yes, but you have to fulfill certain criteria to be granted citizenship. And only citizens are able to reach the highest positions in the government. If you have the civilian status, the highest hierarchy you can reach is governor, but it doesn't move on past there. You need citizenship to advance further in the political system. Another thing to note is Imperator is not the same as it was during the Messer era. We have a democratic system going at the moment after the revolution. When was it? 2792, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And it's basically like the president in the modern era in certain countries, or chancellor or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's not like an absolute hereditary monarchy anymore. It's an elected person, and the current person is Edison. Over to you guys. You wanted to touch on something specific here, or?
Yeah. So you know I have issues with the UEE, and I haven't been on that lately. I've had too much going on with my org, so we can get ourselves organized to the point that we can wreak havoc and wreck the UEE and especially those player creating UEE orgs. That was just going to be the most rewarding experience. So let's, I guess, start from the top, and then we'll just go down from there, since this is a pyramid scheme. So UEE, it spans across 37 systems, founded in 2546, led by the Imperator. So I'll run through the Imperator, then we could just bounce it back, then we'll move along down the pyramid. So Imperator, the head, serves 1 10-year term. Over the military, oversees all branches, now can be impeached if opposed by the rest of the governmental body, signs and vetoes laws. Now, the interesting thing that you touched on was the Messer error. That error specifically ran for 235 years of pure tyranny, which is pretty much the momentum that we're still dealing with as far as the connotation and the negativity of the UEE. It doesn't undermine the fact of my position that they shouldn't be in Stanton, because Stanton is not represented. However, that was in the contract when they purchased the land. But if they couldn't, you shouldn't be here if we don't have representation. That's a fundamental flaw in any sort of governmental body over another entity. Only citizens are eligible, and as we just touched on, citizens and civilians are totally different. So you have to actually have 50,000 signatures to even be a candidate. And then they essentially just draw up an advertisement, blast it on Spectrum, and then out of all of those candidates, only 10 are selected for the next round of votes. Moss?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about the Imperator and the UEE, I like to come in from a very, very high level to give people context of where we're at today. So before the Mesa era, there was the UPE, which was the United Planets of Earth, which is kind of humanity becoming conscious in the universe and organizing itself into a single entity. And the UPE was like so democratic that it was so caught up in its own bureaucratic processes and stuff. It was so inefficient that's what allowed Mesa to come in and kind of take control of the UPE. So if you had a pendulum, right? Humanity started, let's just for the sake of it, say the pendulum started on the left-hand side, which is the UPE. And then when Mesa came in, on the back of the inefficiencies and all that stuff, made the UEE extremely efficient by becoming a dictatorship. Let's say the pendulum swings all the way to the right. And then when we had the revolution and kicked out the messes, we've kind of come back into the center of those two positions, if you like. And we have an Imperator, yes, but as you said, he can be dethroned if he's gone crazy and AWOL or whatever, and or he's gone crazy and evil or whatever. The government can overthrow him. So, yeah, I just wanted to touch on where we are today, type thing. You know, we started off at one extreme, went to the other extreme, and now we're in this kind of central position where the law I'm reading is the UEE has got evil people in it, good people doing good stuff, bad people doing bad stuff. It's got a whole kaleidoscope of of kind of room of people doing stuff in it. So it's quite interesting.
Absolutely, yeah, agree.
So then you got the Congress after that, which is the legislative branch, made up of humans and non-humans. Only citizens, again, are eligible. You can serve 5 years. You can have unlimited terms. It's sad to say that we have yet to understand that senators and representatives should have term limits. It is very disturbing to me that after even 900 years later, we are still doing this dumb shit. We have not progressed in advance whatsoever. So in order for you to get a representative for your planet, you have to reach statehood and be recognized by the emperor. The planet gets to send their senators. If they may have one, they may have many. The UE Senate passes bills and discusses the budget for the UEE as well as the military. Advises the imperator on UEE policy, foreign policy. So we do have 3 major parties, which is also sad too, because we still get caught up in isolating ourselves into a small number of parties. That's disturbing. You're in a democratic situation, but yet you're isolating yourself into a position to where you only have 3 parties. What the hell, man? I mean, we're stuck in that cycle. We were stuck in that cycle on Earth, to where that just limits everything. There's more than 3 overall concepts in life. Senate chamber is where they hold these meetings, and that actually is on Saul, New York. The chamber itself holds approximately 380 audience members with 6 blocks, 64 seats each, and has an additional visitor balcony. So that pretty much covers the Congress. Any points on that?
No, nothing else. I think
No, I think you're right that the 3 parties is is like slightly better than I don't know what it's like typically in Europe, but I know in America, Australia, and England, and probably other European countries, I'm not 100% sure, but there's only 2 parties. So in another whatever 900 years, we've managed to have a third party.
900 years. That's so sad.
So and what we've got, the Universal Party, their institutionally focused ideology where government and systems will guide the people, and then the Centralist Party is traditional, even somewhat libertarian style political ideology. It's about sustaining and maintaining the status quo. So I don't even see much difference between these 2 parties, to be honest. I'm staring at these words and I'm like, I don't really get any difference between the Universal Party and the Centralist Party. The transitionalists, okay, they're forward-looking, progressive, whatever. They want Terra to be the capital. So they actually, at least whether you like them or don't like them, I kind of understand what they stand for a little bit more. But the others just seem to be like just
variation of each other.
Well, yeah, whatever's going on now, let's just keep doing that, and yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, they seem they seem kind of passive. Yeah,
yeah.
When I was doing my research and I got to that, when I got to the Senate, I had 2 what the fuck moments. We're still not we still don't have term limits for senators. Blows my mind. And now we have only managed to add 1 other party. I mean, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, politics is not that they're not that basic to only have three overarching opinions, if you will. Now each one has a bunch of different varying opinions amongst each other, and there's a spectrum there that from one side to the next. But come on, let's move along. So I'm starting to get irritated with that idea.
Wait. Can I touch on one thing?
Yeah, you can.
Can I touch on like you've brought up? This has just popped in my head because of what you guys have been saying, and I think it's a bit boring, to be honest. So, I'm going to say it how it is, man. A lot of people say the law, in Star Citizen is good in some parts, and it's also bad in some parts, in my opinion, just like anything else in this world. I think the bad part and the boring part is it just hit me in the head right now because of you, Delta and Ace. There's 35 systems of humanity, right? And in what's that really good sci-fi thing that's on in Amazon now?
Expanse.
Mate, there's 2 planets and there's problems, right?
Yeah.
The guys that live on Mars are like, screw you guys on Earth. That's just 2 planets. There's 35 systems of humanity, and they're all falling in line with these 3 silly parties, and I don't hear of it. Maybe there's more law being churned out, but they're like in Mech Warrior.
It's depressing.
In Mech Warrior, man, like the human race goes, throughout the universe, and then not one but thousands of wars break out between the different systems because that's how humans are, and that's how they would be. Like the humans in one system would be like, screw you guys, you're not going to come get my resources. Like, there's no way. It's a bit boring. It's a bit boring, man. I think they copy and pasted, and this just dawned on me in the last 5 minutes, guys. You guys have enlightened me.
I agree.
You guys have enlightened me.
Yeah, but I totally agree. It needs a little bit of, maybe let's even call it cultural diversity, because it's also very boxy. It's all the same, basically.
It's a bit homogeneous. It feels like that. Yeah. Look, we haven't seen any other systems yet and all that stuff. Agree, right? It's all just... But 35 systems, and there's one emperor and 3 parties, and that's it, kind of thing. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, there's a lot more to read, but, yeah.
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 I guess
to be honest with you, though, in reality, I wouldn't be shocked nor surprised that humanity could be that basic in 37, 35 systems. Because think about it globally on Sol. For the most part, politics are all the same, unless you just have a stark contrast in the system that is managing its populace. Democracy pretty much is just as corrupt and as closed-minded into, as you said, Maz, 2 or 3 parties that are running everything. I would not be shocked nor surprised if we wound up with 3 parties and 37 systems, light years away from each other.
Yeah, well, I would be shocked. I think physical distance is a big weight. Big weight. If someone's really far from you, that's why the British that went to America became Americans, revolted against themselves in a way, right? The distance is huge, in my opinion, and I think if there's a bunch of people 5 light years away and they've got all these resources, and we just rock up and say, hey, we're planet Earth, we're your emperor, give us your stuff, we're going to tax you, and they just say, oh, okay, and then, by the way, you get to vote for 3 parties on planet Earth. Like, there is no way in hell that's going to happen, man. No, I think there is no way in hell. There'll be like 50 different factions at war with each other. Absolutely.
Probably, but I think it all depends on the size of the boot in your neck. The UEE enforces its interests with an iron fist. It's not like they are your friendly neighborhood democratic country. They
sell hammerheads to the population.
That's to keep them active and busy.
Yeah, exactly. You got to keep the economy flowing, man.
Like your population's got
What would they do?
hammerheads, railguns, like all that stuff, and you're telling me that okay, we'll agree to disagree, gentlemen, on that note.
The
So
trick is to have bigger ships and more railguns. It's that easy.
in the future, for CIG, something to look into as we develop the game to test, the whole theory around that is
Yeah, it's
to start
interesting.
opening up some of these political positions to the players. Because the last game that I was in, the uh, the Pope or the Imperator, they you could actually be that as a player and make decisions and whatnot and set taxes for the whole entire game.
Yeah,
So it would be interesting to start incorporating some of these spots and positions to where even if they did the quanta side of it and those senators had votes, but also open it up to the population to where players can actually join in the Congress and be a part of this and potentially maybe one day even be an imperator. I keep wanting to say imperator for some reason. But
It's
and
insane.
anyway, so let's move on because we still got a lot to cover because this is a vast and main project that humanity has decided to blast across 37 systems. So we touch base on the citizens and the civilians. Citizens, you can apply, chosen, you can be selected through exceptional military um, experience. So the benefits of being a citizen is that you're allowed to own multi-system corporations,
okay,
pursue political office,
yep,
vote on UEE issues, work for the UEE government, easier to obtain UEE trade licenses to sell and buy from the Xi'an. How do you pronounce that properly? Because I always screw that
I
up.
say Xi'an,
I
Xi'an,
think it's Xian, yes.
Xi'an.
Xi'an Urbano.
Some,
Local law enforcement might let you skate on smaller crimes if you're, and they probably one of the biggest things because UEE has such high taxes is the fact that you pay a lower tax rate. Now, as a civilian, lowest status begin paying taxes at 17. So if you're 17, get your ass off the couch.
Oh
Your
my
ass is
god,
going to work to pay taxes.
Jesus.
You, and then you're allowed to own property. You vote in local legislation and elections, but outside of that, you cannot go any higher than being a governor as a civilian.
yeah.
That pretty
Correct.
much covers that branch, the high secretary branch. So now we need to cover briefly the high command branch and then move on to high advocacy. And these really aren't going to take that long because they're just
No, they're simple.
military
Yeah,
roles. So
exactly.
Marines are your first responders. Uh, they actually have a nickname for the HAL of their drop pod, which are called nails. Um, they the Marines are initially kept under the umbrella of the Army, but then the UEE realized that it needed something a special forces, so they started drawing military personnel from the Army and the Navy. These right
Yeah,
here are your special forces. So you actually have to be selected to be in the Marines. You don't get to apply. Their primary goal is planetary invasion. So these guys, when they show up, they just there to fuck shit up. And if you see the Marines, you know you in deep shit.
Yeah, again, I'm bored of these names. I wish it was something else.
yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I think those are.
They have such deep roots in today, like, and that's what Star Citizen
Yeah.
is, and that's what some people love about it. Some people want more. You want to call it sci-fi stuff. I call it kind of evolution of 1,000 years in the future. Some people, no, we're always going to be called Marines, and the spaceships are going to be called Navy, like the ships in the water. I'm like, okay.
But it will,
Yeah.
though. Sociologically, those are names that we would be able to say that they are archetypes. Those archetypes are never going anywhere. Now, I would agree with you if the UEE had developed on another system from another area, but you're talking about an entity that came from Earth. Think about
Yeah.
in Australia, you guys pretty much have the same structure as any other military, and a lot of your names will probably be similar. The say German army military personnel, they all have adapted and utilized these names that really will always be used. I seriously doubt that the Navy in space is going to be called anything different other than the Navy.
Space Force.
Space Force.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, look what happened in the 20th century. There was, no Air Force, and then there was an Air Force in, 100 years. We had these things called squadrons and wings, and so in 100 years, because of new technology, these things, new terminology got invented. But imagine like centuries and centuries of people across different systems where they don't have liquid or water and stuff. And what I'm trying to say is it just seems like the UEE, everything's, after all of this time, like it's not like someone from Mars became Imperator, or the culture from Mars outweighed the culture from Earth, or it all got mixed in and diluted. It just seems the culture of Earth, and that's it.
Yeah.
And everything else doesn't really, has no impact on it. You know what I mean? Like, we've all had in Australia, like multicultural, like we've got cultural influences from everywhere. Classic Australian food has got like angles from every country that's in Australia type thing, and it continuously evolves. And I think it's boring to me, that's all. It's just boring to me, that's all. That we talk about Navy, Marines.
Like I said, it's the boot on your neck.
It's the boot on your neck. It's like no other thing has influenced, or there's no. They talk about human. It's funny.
No cultural diffusion.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic because they go out of their way, and they has it in this UE article. In fact, they say that humanity is all mixed together, and that's why they have a name like Ivan Suzuki or Hamid Robinson. And you can see in the NPC names in the game that they pick one name from one culture and the second name from another culture. I don't know if you've noticed that. So they go out of the way to say that these humans have kind of all mixed into one big blob. But then when it comes to 35 solar systems and centuries of living on these solar systems, and they're all diverse, like more diverse than planet Earth, the cultures would be 10 times more diverse, and the influences on each other would be 1,000 times more influential. Yet we're just like, everything is like Marines, Navy, Army, Earth is the capital. There's no civil wars, and we have 3 political parties. It's just a bit boring to me, guys. I'm just gonna say it.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
I'm definitely with you on that. It's just to me, humanity's basic as fuck, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. Anyway, continue on, my friend.
All right. So then we got the Navy, which is probably the experience we have with the most. They're focused on the transportation and military resources, maintaining borders, and waging military strikes. Formed around squadrons. So imagine, obviously, Squadron 42 is going to be a Navy game. Admiral covers the charge of the carrier, with squadrons with wing commanders running multiple wings to operate those at any given time. Boot camps. So the boot camps are actually called forges, and the academies are on MacArthur, and boot camps are on MacArthur or in MacArthur in the Killian system. So on whatever fuck, but MacArthur in the Killian system.
Yeah.
Then Army, you got holds the civilization together, so it's more like the adhesive that binds it all together. It's the oldest branch, founded in 2380, when it was actually the United Nations of Earth.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things about the Army that I notice is that they say it's ultra mechanized. So it's an ultra mechanized ground force. So that Nova tank I love so much is a Army vessel.
Yep.
Then the last aspect of the UEE structure is the High Advocate. So the High Advocate reminds me of a lot of like the U.S. Marshals. So essentially, these guys are tracking fugitives and, dealing with, enforcement of the law and the legal system. So even though they do handle fugitives, it looks like the Bounty Hunters Guild gets a bulk of those contracts to track down those fugitives. This was formed in 2523. And unfortunately, it actually was used negatively on the population during the Mesa era as like secret police, secret intelligence, espionage. And during that period, they were actually implicated in a lot of assassinations. So that branch has some scathed history to where they it's a bit dubious. Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
A high advocate shows up, and then they have different positions there in that high advocacy. But if they show up, it's pretty much like, you're fucked up in a way that nobody's going to know about because your ass is about to get assassinated.
I mean, they're the closest to the criminals and stuff, so more of them would be more corrupt because the temptation to kind of jump the fence would be there, maybe,
Oh, easy.
I could also see them abuse their position in many other ways. Like that's what one of those positions that attracts like psychopaths,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So they're dealing with all the scum and the dirt. So the nature of getting influence comes along with that. I would imagine
the money that criminals have in drugs and women and blah blah blah, and luxury
shit ton
lifestyles.
Of power too.
Yeah,
a shit ton of power because I mean, you essentially are just tracking down criminals. You can do whatever you want because nobody gives a shit about the criminals anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I think that sums it up, man. I mean, we've spoken about the UEE before, and I felt like going through the actual structure would help us all understand it a little better about where it's at, what it's doing, how it operates. We've covered it before, but never got it into it that deep. Now we understand the structure, and after this research, my understanding of the UEE is a little better. I'm not as aggressive towards it because I do understand that the Mesa era is over. It's still just dealing with the waves of what happened during that era. But with all that being said, it definitely doesn't have any jurisdiction in Stanton, so they still remain on the KOA list. We're going to slide out of this into Open Mic Moz.
Yes, Open Mic. Welcome everyone to Open Mic, where we just talk about any thoughts, ideas, or anything really that's on our mind. So I'll kick things off with a thought. So on one of the videos today, they showed the atmospheric pressure and how, as it increases, your character can get damaged or your ship can get blown up, which in a Crusader sort of sense is, the deeper you go into Crusader, the pressure increases and you die. But what my open mic discussion is about is, I remember hearing about, we've got a lot of ground vehicles and things like that, and people are like, hell man, why do I need a ground vehicle if I've got a spaceship that can fly anywhere? And I remember people's responses saying, well, there's going to be some environments where your ship won't be able to go into. And I think this little video kind of rejuvenated that idea in my mind that, oh yeah, these guys might have some atmospheres on some planets where you'll need a special type of vehicle, whether it's ground or maybe even a spaceship. Well, maybe spaceships can't fly into, but it'll put an onus on getting the right type of vehicle for the right type of environment. And yeah, it's not really a question or anything that you guys can chime in on, or you can, feel free to, but yeah, it just kind of reminded me that, yeah, we will have some environments, and I think that's where the importance, maybe like a Tonk can go into, some really dense, chemically infused atmosphere, whereas, other spaceships might not be able to, and, maybe the Ursa rover or a special version of the Ursa rover could penetrate into different, environments and stuff that other ships might not be able to. So, yeah, really interested in that little clip of the atmospheres and stuff. Ace, as I was saying, got reminded me of those conversations that I've had in the past. So keen to look forward to see these kind of hazardous environments, make for interesting gameplay as to what vehicles you need, and there might be some vehicles that are environmental vehicles purely.
Gonna say that opens up the possibility to have like actual exploratory vehicles in some sort of sense that you will need to have to get to certain points, otherwise you wouldn't be able to reach them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, Delta. Not really anything for conversation wise, but yeah, that was just.
I disagree with that. Hold on, I'm gonna tag along with what you're saying because I was processing what you were saying. So I was thinking about the possibilities that we could have there, which kind of touches on a subject that we talked about a few weeks ago when we were talking about the dynamic economy, the type of vehicles that you could have. The one that I had stated, if you had one where you could go to Microtech and you could scoop up snow and then it refined the snow into hydrogen and oxygen. So you have vehicles for specific function that can go in specific environments. Now, on this particular point, Crusader, with the atmospheric pressure and the deeper you go, the effects on that we saw in that video. What if we had a vehicle that could go to the core of Crusader, and then there were some, say, power management balancing involved, and you would have to necessarily have an engineer to look at data, to manage information, and the ship shakes, and you have to tweak things to get deeper and deeper, but the vehicle is designed to get to its core to, say, harvest some gas that's very profitable. But actually, even if you had this vehicle, the gameplay involved with getting to its core is really difficult, maybe 70% failure rate, and then the other 30%, if you could be successful, is very lucrative. I could really get on board with something like that because it makes the gameplay deeper, more immersive than, as far as multi-crew is concerned. you would absolutely need a large multi-crew vessel for something like that, and everyone would have a necessary function.
That's a great idea, man. That's kind of like exploration with like, instead of exploration being just kind of like manage my fuel and point in a direction and quantum drive in different directions, but to actually have an active gameplay of these crew members running around and balancing things so that their ship doesn't collapse in a hazardous environment. It's would be pretty cool.
Yeah,
that would be exciting.
It kind of drew off of that from you guys ever seen the movie Armageddon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Armageddon at the end, where Homeboy is trying to drill those last few meters they need to get, and Harry's telling him to stop, and he's like, Harry, just fucking listen to me, dude. If you don't ever listen to anything I say, just listen to me. So he's up there, he's managing the this and that, moving this function and this lever. I mean, that's what I kind of imagined something like that being.
Yeah.
To get that much deeper to its core. So I'm on board with that. I actually like that idea. This is a very, very good perspective.
Yeah, so that's my open mic topic, guys. So what about you, Delta? You go this time. You always go last. We'll make you go second this time.
Yeah, how about that? So what I'd like to see is CIG take a few of your employees, maybe 5 of them, please, and put emphasis on uniting your website org information with the game. Please make that work together, because we need more emphasis on org structure in the game and the ability to say have org ships. For instance, we have org fun in our org, but we can't necessarily go buy an org ship and officers and VPs have access to it when I'm not in the game, or a person that has a bunch of ships doesn't have any. It would be nice to be able to have org property that other people you can assign access to. So even if it was just it was a trusted member, say, and you could sign access to them, give them rights to call it out and be able to manage your org within the game. Right now, you can only manage the org outside of the game on the website, but there really is no major benefit to being in an org. I would definitely like to see CIG link the website to the game when it comes to orgs, and I would like to see more capabilities for orgs in game. Say on your social tab, you would be able to see who's in your org online. Like when you create a party, it would just be another channel, all the org members, if you wound up in the same server. But org property and org structure, maybe even an org fund of some sort in game, would be nice to have for the org leader.
I know that org hangars are planned where everybody can put in ships and assign them to those hangars and everybody can use them, but I'm not sure on how, when, or what specifically is gonna get made. I just heard org hangars.
That's good to know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I mean, I'm thinking in my MMO, I play Elder Scrolls Online, and all these other MMOs have got banks, like guild banks, and they got guild depositories where you can put equipment and stuff in, and anyone can pull it out from there, and you can see who pulls out what and all that sort of stuff, and you can control who can do what. Yeah, all that kind of guild sort of systems would be really, really useful.
We're going to have that when we get base building. I mean, mind you, base building's probably not even going to be a thing for the next couple of years. They're going to need to focus on that, because once you build a base, I mean, you're going to have org property. It doesn't need to all be on individuals to build things, because then that's going to make everything complicated.
Yeah.
It would nice to be able to say put down some sort of beacon, or we called it a monument in our last game, and you could slowly acquire land around that, and your emphasis in territory expanded the longer you were there. So that's just going to be absolutely essential for the success of orgs to be able to have something like that. Now, I know, Ace, you don't have many details for what's coming. The fact that you said that makes me think that essentially, like you said, it might be where you can put a ship in a hangar and then people can have access to it. It'd be really nice to be able to have, like, the org owns this, not an individual. Naturally, it would be under the control of the founder of the org, but I think they should give access and capabilities to control stuff like that to, say, your vice president or any officers that you assign that ability to. That way it can continue on. But we definitely need more emphasis on what the capabilities for orgs are in the game. They haven't put any effort into that whatsoever.
Not yet. It's gonna come at some point. I'm very, very convinced they will do something because it's absolutely needed. I agree. It's
yeah.
All right, that's it for me this week.
Systems.
All right, Ace, up to you, my man. What's
I'd like to give some feedback on the Ninetales event because I felt it was very one-sided, playing on the UEE side or on Crusader's side better. Wasn't very entertaining. The AIs were really bad in the best cases, and it just got too repetitive. In that one instance, I think we killed like 20 hammerheads, one after the other, and that was a little too much. And on the other hand, playing on the Ninetales side was really complicated because you didn't have the same chances as the good side players. Every kill resulted in prison time instantly.
Really?
And yeah, you couldn't just hop back into the fight. They should have had deactivated the comlink set or something like that, and deactivated the call to arms mission in that for the criminal players in that event, so they could get back into the fight, because there was no way other than either working your sentence off really fast or escaping from prison and then hopping back into the fight. But you lost a lot of time, and most of the time the battle was over already at that moment, right?
Yeah, that I could see why that would be severely one-sided.
Yeah, and another thing was you didn't really gain anything from playing on the Ninetales side, which was also disappointing. Okay, you got like a 50,000 payout for every destroyed ship or something like that, but other than that, there was nothing. Like no reputation, no badge, no nothing. I thought there they could have done a little thing, and well, it's maybe a thing to remember in the future at the next iteration of the game. Make the opposing side more attractive, because fighting AI gets old after
5 minutes.
Not instantly, but yeah. But I mean, it's not that cool. You look at that hammerhead in your whatever ship you are in that particular moment, and hold down the left mouse button until it goes poof, and that's it. And then you look for the next one, and there's no real challenge. You had no really hard combat situations where you had to evade lasers. And I mean, the hardest thing to evade were other players not really knowing where they were going. And
the AI is completely useless at the moment, and hopefully it'll get better.
I totally disagree.
Okay.
I totally disagree. The AI
disagree.
Yeah, man. The AI can kick ass if you're a criminal player and have to face the UEE Navy. It's so much harder
Is it? Okay.
to fight. Yeah, man. those ships actually shoot back, and they aim at you, and they shoot on a more frequent basis, and they do maneuvers and try to evade way harder. I didn't know either. I was really surprised this week. Like, oh my god, what's this?
So it's only the bad guys that really suck.
Yeah, it's they get to suffer the most, and I mean, I can totally understand. You don't want everybody to be a criminal and everything, but we already have prison in place, which is already a huge downer on the side of the criminals. So yeah, maybe make it more attractive, because it would have been cool to see both sides of the conflict.
Yeah,
and be able to enjoy it more.
Really good feedback, man.
I think that's it for the open mic from my side. Just wanted to give my impression on Ninetales.
There you go, CIG. Some valuable feedback. And that sums up our open mic section, guys. Thank you, Delta. Thanks, Ace. And we're going to move on to questions, because I think we've got some questions. Do you remember Ghostbusters, guys? Do you guys old enough to see Ghostbusters?
Hell yeah, dude.
Do you remember the secretary when they got the first call? We got one. You know, the first call that came in to start off their business. Yeah. Anyway, I feel like saying, we got one. We got a question.
I know the exact scene you're talking about. So we're going to shift on into questions. So the first question is from Slash, and it looks like this is a multi-tier question. However, it's primarily dealing with PvP versus PvE. So his first question is, can they make up? And then the next question that goes along is, why is PvP so important to you? Then he does the same for PvE. And do you see PvPers getting a bad rep, and the same for PvEers? So this is a PvP PvE question, which is like the ultimate quandary in MMOs in general, and especially in Star Citizen. So what do you think, Moz? Can they make up?
Can they make up? Well, I read a lot of Spectrum posts, man. I when I go to bed, I'm reading Spectrum posts, and you know, this is one of the hot topics on Spectrum and in many MMOs, except more so in Star Citizen, because at least in other MMOs, like, there's distinct PvP areas, distinct PvE areas, and there's not much conflict in between most of the time. But in Star Citizen, it's all mashed in together. So, can they make up? Well, that would mean me representing a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds and saying yes they can or no they can't. But I think there is a way. I think if CIG CIG is the only person that can do this, or entity that can do it. If CIG comes out and sort of stops addressing the game in PvE and PvP terms and uses the term that I do, like PvX, and sort of says, this is a PvX game, guys. You know, one day you'll be PvEing here and there'll be PvPers there and there's no boundaries and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to call it PvX. If they kind of set the tone, that might trickle down into the community, and then, you know, everyone puts their pitchforks down and hugs each other and holds hands and sing Kumbaya. But I don't see it really happening. I'm one of the, I think, not unique, but in the minority where I see it as a PvX game and I describe it as a PvX game. So Slash, I think the chances are slim of them making up.
Very.
I have to wholeheartedly agree to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, while PvE is fun, it can get boring for some people. So I can totally understand the PvPers. I enjoy PvP fighting too, because it gives me a challenge, it gives me excitement, and at the end of the day, I don't lose anything right now. I mean, later down the line that might change. Like my attitude towards it might be completely different. But for now, why not enjoy it while we can? And I can also understand a lot of the PvE guys. They just want to have their quiet space experience and haul cargo from A to B and just watch QT travel. But that's not how it works. It's a dangerous universe. You can always be attacked, and you have to be aware of it. And then maybe don't fight back in your transport ship if there's guys who are directly after you. Maybe don't complain afterwards. Just fucking run. It's not that hard. Not everybody can be Commander Shepard. That's also another thing. People get really angry if they get beaten several times in a row. And then they start calling others griefers, and all the name calling starts, and all the bitterness and salt cooks up. And it's totally not necessary, man. It's just enjoy it or fucking learn from it. I mean, if you get your ass kicked 10 times in a row, and then you start complaining in chat, nobody's going to take you seriously. I mean, just ask the dude for flight lessons. Maybe that helps you further in your future gameplay. It's just... Yeah,
that's funny.
Don't be bitter about it, man. It's not
so
everyone
it's definitely
gets to be a hero.
It's an eternal battle that will never end between PvP and PvE and MMOs, especially those that mesh them together. Same issue in the last MMO I had. It was predominantly populated by PvPers. So it made it real difficult for PvEers to enjoy the game. Now, in this game, as of now, the population is substantially on the end of PvEers. So they start whining and complaining a lot, especially like Ma said, if you read Spectrum, you'll see it going back and forth, back and forth. Can they make up? No. But what you can have is cooperation. Take, for instance, our org. We're a multi-spec org. And that's been one of the balances, even within an org, trying to balance between the two, because last MMO I was in, you'll always get the PvEers whining. Why does the PvPers get all the best equipment? And we always seem to be doing something to support them. Well, they don't do anything. They just do whatever they want. They're always fighting. And then on the other end, the PvPers are mad because the PvEers are complaining, and the PvEers are taking money because they need to buy resources that we don't currently have. So it's one of those situations where you got the stark contrast in what each player is doing in two different functions. So naturally it's going to be abrasive towards each other, but trying to find that balance even within the org is very difficult. More so in a craft-based game, survival game, than any other. But PvEers in this game, they got a judgment coming, because when server meshing comes in, this game is not going to be fun for you anymore for a long time, because more PvPers are going to start flooding into this game. When combat gets flushed out, desync gets fixed, and we get server meshing, PvPers are going to be flooding into this, and I think that balance is going to shift the other way. And then after a couple months of the wars and diplomacy and divisions of certain territory, it'll balance out. But PvEers have definitely got another thing coming when it comes to server mesh, and I don't even think they realize what's coming. I think we pretty much answered why is PvP important, because it is necessary. We touched base on that, and then the same for PvEers as far as why it's important. They just enjoy the loops. PvP makes the game a little more interesting instead of mining all the time. Now, as far as the question, do you see PvPers getting a bad rep? I think we have to start off by identifying there are PvPers, in my mind, I distinguish them this way: PvPers and you got griefers. Okay, so a PvPer is essentially not only looking for a thrill or something more interesting to do in the game, get his adrenaline up, he or she, um, but they also are looking for a challenge, like at the top tier of PvPers. They're looking for a challenge, so they're not looking for minors. They're not looking for PvEers. They're looking for other players that are flying around in military vessels, and it's one guy flying a Buccaneer, and he wants to go against a fully crewed Hammerhead to test his pilot skills. That's the most ideal version of a PvPer. Now, at the base level, the most rudimentary, basic motherfucker that is a PvPer that really disgusts me and I'd like to slap in real life or knock the shit out of are those people that are just trolls and they're toxic and they're griefing just to fucking do it because they can. And it makes everybody's experience miserable. Like, you got a fully crewed hammerhead of, 9 douchebags that are going around just blowing up miners for no damn reason without even holding them at ransom or fighting a damn arrow, and then they keep tracking that one person, or going to a port with a retaliator and just sitting there blowing people up and laughing about it because they're shooting them on the pads. I mean, that's disgusting. That's reprehensible to me. Now, because of those players, it has a more negative weight. In the human mind, negativity weighs much more than positivity. So I absolutely do see PvPers getting a bad rep because of the griefers.
Yeah,
Maz?
yeah. I just want to. I think it just ties into the earlier question. No, PvPers and PvEers can't make up, so therefore we've got two groups that are at war. And do you see PvPers getting a bad rep? Yes, I do, from those PvEers that hate them. Do I see PvEers getting a bad rep? Yes, I do, from the PvPers that hate them. So they're kind of all,
exactly.
it's just interrelated with the war that's going on, right? For better or for worse. Even the non-griefers, even the guys that don't grief and try to do piracy as best they can with the limits of this alpha that they're in, right? There's not much they can do. So they try their best, then they'll, run into your ship, steal your ship to get the money, right? To get your mining goods. Even in that situation, people will, oh, someone stole my ship. What are you doing? I'm only mining. What's in it for you? Like, so, yeah, I think they get a bad rep from each other type thing, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely.
And just my take on why is PvP so important? Well, not to me, but I was going to say PvP is important to a game because I think we touched on it before. The amount of data that the developer gets from development sense is just the essence of the data. The importance of the data comes from the PvP side of humans interacting with humans, because humans are so smart and always looking to exploit things and push things to the limit. So that kind of feeds into development, let alone the fact that it adds adrenaline to this universe, right? Even if I was a PvEer, a pure PvEer, I slight to tend a little bit more on the PvE side, sort of. I mean, I've only been PvPing the last 2 months, but when things start working, I'll go back into logistics and stuff. But I know that there's PvP in this world, so that gives me an adrenaline rush when I sit in my caterpillar, and I love that adrenaline rush. So as a PvE,
exactly. As
a PvEer, that's important to me to have that, the hair on the back of my neck, sort of on its end, because I've got a expectation of being attacked.
All right, so we're gonna shift on over to another player's question. Takeo Yara, appreciate the question.
Thank you, Takeo.
90% of my time is spent playing solo. My end-game plan was to get a C2 and do trading, but with that loop being dead right now, I'd like to invest my AUEC on fighting ship and do bounty hunting solo. I'd like to hear recommendations from the three of you for a ship that could not only help me clear VHRT solo, but also accommodate at least one other player, either on a turret or as a co-pilot. My budget is around 5 million.
Go with the Vanguard.
That's the first
Go
ship.
with the Vanguard.
That's the first ship that came into my mind.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll
you have the option to take another one, and you have the option to actually deal damage on your own. A Hurricane wouldn't do because you need that turret gunner to actually deal the damage. So
Yeah,
it's pretty much
clearing
the only.
VHRTs with a Vanguard is definitely doable, but then you're dealing with three different variants there with that ship. I would absolutely recommend the Warden. Go with the Warden because those other 4 guns on your ship outside of the size 5 that are your guns, you get a higher DPS rate with the special guns that come on the Warden. I think they are like MRVS or MVAs. I think they're MVAs.
yeah.
They have like a DPS of 504. But if I would go with the Warden, I actually still love my Sentinel. I was just trying to figure out its fit in the verse and the loadout that's appropriate to run them solo. But once you put somebody in that turret, it definitely makes it a formidable ship to go up against for anybody at that point.
Isn't the Sentinel flies better than the Harbinger though, right? Like it's a little more agile and slightly more nimble, or am I getting that wrong?
I don't know. I've never flown the other ones.
I think the variants actually differ.
Okay.
They do differ now as far as flight and functionality. When it comes to flight, I don't know that there is a difference, but there is a difference on what you are capable of using. Like, for instance, the Harbinger has a higher missile capability. Like, you can have a shit ton of missiles on the Harbinger, which is, to be honest with you, if I had the money, I'd own all 3 of them because I absolutely love that ship. And that would keep you under 5 million because you could trick it out, get all of the components that you need and the best shit to go on it for like 3, maybe 3.1. Saves the money, pocket that, and save for you a 600i because that's the best one to go for if you could increase your budget to about 10, 11 million.
There we go. The Vanguard Warden is a solid recommendation. I think that would definitely suit those needs. Absolutely.
Yep. And if you can double that budget, you can just run with a 600i, which is even better.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Taco.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Slash, you actually had some other questions. We're going to move those into next week. And then I think that sums it up, guys. This is another episode for the books. How you guys feeling about the show so far?
Pretty good. I'm enjoying it.
I enjoy it thoroughly. I'm learning a lot as well.
That is one of the things I can say about this. I am learning a shit ton about this game because we have to force ourselves to do research to think about it even more critically than we would it had we not been a part of this.
Yeah.
I definitely have to say being in this show is very rewarding, especially with the segments that we've created and shit. I enjoyed the camaraderie here. Everything that we've done so far is making me a better player. It's making me think more critically. Hell, even in my gameplay and how I function and interact with the org. And when I see things in game now, I know more of the history of it and why it's there. And then a lot of the players like, what the fuck, Delta? How do you know that? Well, there's this podcast.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. So that's it. Citizens, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Citizen Feed. So for all of our social links, check down below. Hit us up on social media. The best thing that you could do for us is join the Discord, give us some questions, send those questions in so we can address that interaction is necessary to keep this thing going and the population involved in what we're doing. If you want to shoot us an email at the citizenfeed@gmail.com, you can do that as well. Citizens, hit that like button so we can get this in the algorithm. Drop a comment below, thumbs up, thumbs down, say what you think about the show, interact with us, give us feedback, but do it so we can all increase the amount of people watching the Citizen Feed, because what we're doing is trying to focus on bringing you the best podcast that we possibly can to entertain you guys so you keep coming back for more. So until next week, Delta X 85 out.